what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while. It's been a good little minute. I don't know, maybe like 3-4 months. But remember I said I quit my job and I started doing my own thing, and that is the reason why. I just haven't had time for the car. The car has been at KEIM house from when I dropped it off, and I just been on the road. I've been all over Texas, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, Cali. Just been driving. This is the truck right here, 21 Dodge 3500 diesel. It is dirty. I'm talking about like dirty. 40-foot big Tex 25 GN. Let me show you guys the inside of this. You know, you got your ELD right there so they can keep track of your ass. You know, this is the Laramie edition, so you get the big screen, the AC seats, all that good stuff like that. You know, running your own business ain't easy. You don't work a 9 to 5, you work 24 hours a day. I just been transporting stuff, man. Just been moving freight and moving cars. I just haven't had time for the coupe. So basically the whole time I've been on the road, the car has been at KEIM house from KEIM Fab. I left him the GoPros so he can record most of all the process, because I just knew I wasn't gonna have time to do it. So I'm gonna basically mix that up into the video now. Got the coupe here. I'm going to be dropping this off to the homie KEIM Fab. He's gonna do the up pipes or the down pipes, I don't know yet. The intercooler piping, the HD clamps. I am gonna go over the whole vibrant thing because I have a box full of vibrant stuff. I'm talking about 2 boxes full of vibrant stuff. Yeah, I got the bonnet in here. So the wifey is going to follow me to KEIM house so we could drop this off, and yeah, start getting these stuff unboxed. Let's crank this bitch up. I'm not really home like that, so this shit barely gets any love. Hopefully this shit crank. Everything is good so far. This is the farthest I have taken it from I got it started. So still got about a 20 more minute drive. If you guys are wondering, these are my temps. It fluctuates from 174 when driving, and then at idle, like at a red light, I'm at 176. Before, with the regular water pump system, it would be 180, 185. So I guess you could say about a 10-degree difference with the electrical water pump. It's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. Finally at KEIM house, the mastermind behind it all. Boy, look hot, man. Sweating, dog. Coupe made it. All right, so here we have all of the Vibrant parts laid out. Like I said again, huge shout out to Vibrant for sponsoring the build. Really appreciate you guys, Vibrant, Don, Arthur, everybody at the team. We got 2 180-degree bends right here. These would be for the teardrops. This is the same thing. 3-inch would be for the up pipe teardrop. I'm gonna leave the GoPro with the KEIM and just have him time lapse everything. I know he's not really the talkative type.
What's up, everyone? This is a KEIM from KEIM Fab. And today we have Fred's right-hand drive EJ Coupe in for some fab work. It's a built K20A. He's running a full race Sidewinder manifold using 2 44mm race gates. We previously added this wastegate port to the manifold, hopefully to help with the boost creep. It's running a precision turbo, a Skunk 2 Ultra Race intake manifold, a 90mm K20A throttle body, and we're going to be using vibrant components to do the whole intercooler system. So the charge pipes coming from the turbo, we're going to have a 2.5-inch HD clamp at the turbo, and we're going to come down with a single pipe to the intercooler, and then back from the intercooler to the throttle body using all vibrant parts. So the intercooler is already mounted from the previous setup, but this setup is going to eliminate all the couplers that were there before. Alright, over here we have all of our vibrant components for the charge pipes. It's an assortment of aluminum tubing, 3-inch and 2.5-inch. We have our HD clamp assemblies for the turbo and the throttle body. We have a reducer to go from 90mm back down to 3-inch. An assortment of 45°, 90°, and 180° bends. So I'll try to record as much of the fab process as I can. Some of it will be hard to record, so I'll set it on time lapse and hopefully everything comes out pretty good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take off the bumper so that we can get to the intercooler and start figuring out the routing. So we have 2 quick disconnects to take the bumper off, and then the bar across the middle has been removed already, so it should be fairly easy. They're pretty simple. You just push this button in and it releases it from the pin. Just like that, it's disconnected. So go ahead and take it off and we can get started. Alright, so the intercooler is already mounted. Alright, so for the cold side, which is after the intercooler, so intercooler to throttle body, we're running the 3.5-inch vibrant Vangeon clamp. So what we're going to do is take this transition. This goes from 3.5 to 3 inches. Yeah, so 3 to 3.5 inches. So this is going to fit perfectly inside the little lip. So it's going to go from 3.5 down to 3. And then here we're going to go a 90° elbow. We have this guy here. And that elbow would sit somewhere here. I'm going to have to trim some of the length off of this side, because right now it's too close. Right now it's actually, with the transition in place, it'll put the elbow over the chassis leg. So we're going to measure out and trim this elbow just so that the piping sits inside the chassis leg. And then from here we're probably going to do another 90 to go from the end of this tube to underneath the chassis leg, and there we'll have a this 180 bend, and that's probably going to go somewhere around here. We may have to change this angle a little bit because the piping comes off at an angle, but we'll measure everything up and see. So it's going to come around here and then 90 up to meet the other elbow. And for the hot side, from the turbo to the intercooler, we're running the 2.5-inch vibrant clamp. So that's gonna sit here. This is gonna get welded on. But as the turbo sits now, it's gonna run right into the mount. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up the bolts on the back of the turbo and see if we can't clock it to get a little bit better fitment. So there should be 6 1/2-inch bolts. The head of the bolt is 1/2 inch. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen these up. And with that, we should be able to rotate the housing. So what we'll do is rotate the housing, play with the angle a little bit, just to make sure that when the tubing comes out of the turbo, it clears the mount and the shifter cable here. So we'll just tweak this as necessary to get the fitment we need. Alright, so with the turbo clocked here, we have our vibrant 2.5-inch 90. We do a quick test fit. So as it is, it clears the gearbox and the mount and the shifter cable. The HD clamp is going to sit where that length of straight is, but we'll trim the elbow to fit. But you can see here that this should clear them out once this tubing is trimmed up and the clamp is on. It should sit somewhere around here, and that should definitely clear everything. And then we'll cut. We won't keep this at 90. We'll cut this at some angle so it transitions cleanly down to the rest of the system. So I'm gonna get started on the piping at the throttle body. This is the larger of the 2 pipes, so let's go ahead and make sure that the 3-inch pipe clears, and then we should have enough space here on the 2.5 from the turbo. But before we start, I'm gonna go ahead and tape up this section of the bay just so that I don't scratch anything when I'm test fitting and getting my measurements. Then use some masking tape. So here we have the vibrant transition. It goes from 3.5-inch to 3-inch. So that's gonna sit here. And then we have the 90-degree 3-inch elbow. That's gonna connect here. As this is, you can see it's right over the chassis leg. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure this out, so that we could go ahead and trim the elbow. We could trim the elbow so it sits somewhere inside the chassis leg, and then give it enough playroom. Because it's a Vangeon clamp, there is some movement that the pipe can have, so we just want to make sure we space it so that at the max travel, the back end of the elbow isn't hitting the chassis leg. So I'm just going to temporarily tape the transition to the Vangeon, just so it could float and I could get my measurements. There's many ways you can take the measurement. I'm just going to set this below the clamp and align it close to the chassis, and then just make a mark on top of the tubing. I'll mark where it's close. So about there should be good. So we'll cut this off. It should line up somewhere around here, which should clear, and then you can tape it up. Or probably just tack it. So we have the 90-degree elbow trimmed to length. Just go ahead and line it up. Alright, so that sits flush, and we have a gap, so we're good here. Now this is a vengeance clamp, so it has some motion, and with that motion we still have a gap. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and tape this up here and then run the 90-degree elbow to go under the chassis leg, and that's going to meet up with this U-bend. We're going to have to trim and adjust the angle of the U-bend, but you go ahead and start marking up this elbow. Alright, so off camera I went ahead and taped up the elbow we cut and to the transition and to the other 90-degree elbow that goes under the chassis leg. It comes out there. So that's going to connect to this upper pipe, and then the lower is going to go back to the turbo. But before I tack this pipe up, I'm going to go ahead and trim this lip off the turbo so I could weld the vibrant vengeance clamp. Just want to make sure it's square without this lip. So I'm going to go ahead and take the turbo off first and do that, and then start routing this pipe before I do any final tacking. Alright, so we got the turbo all trimmed. So now we're going to go ahead and, it's a pretty snug fit. I'll go ahead and weld this up when the time comes. But for now we could go ahead and just slide it back onto the turbo so we can continue the mock-up. So I'm going to take the O-ring off for now because the housing has to come back off to weld it. Go ahead and catch one of these. So that's how this sits. I just have to make sure that when it's clocked, it's not clashing with the shifter cable. And the engine mount. So I'm going to go ahead and measure the angle coming off of this section, and then see what we need to trim to come off, and then probably get a 90 to come back down and follow the same pattern as the other charge pipe. So here we have the vibrant stainless parts that we're going to be using to do the hood exits. So there's a 3" 90, a 3" U-bend, an 1.5" U-bend, and there's should be 2 1.5" 90s. So that's what we're going to use to do the up pipes. So we're going to have one coming out of this wastegate. There's another wastegate under here that's going to come up, and then one from the turbo itself. So we should have 3 teardrops sitting somewhere around here where we'll get it placed and figured out. Alright, so the camera died, but I got the elbow cut into the teardrop. This is 3", so this will sit somewhere about here. I still have some trimming to do in the throat area, but that's a shape for the most part. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and cut out the other 2 teardrops out of the 1.5" 90s, and then roughly place them in space, and then figure out how to route them to the wastegate flanges and the turbo flange. Alright, here's the 1.5" pipe that we're going to be using for one of the wastegate teardrops. It has a long leg and a short leg. For this one, we're going to cut this section here, so the teardrop essentially will be around here. So before I start, I'm going to go ahead and cut off this extra length just so it's easier to cut the teardrop in the bandsaw. Alright, so we have our elbow shortened. So now I'm going to cut across here to get that teardrop shape, and then do some further trimming to clean it all up. Alright, so we have the 3 teardrops cut out, the 3" and the 2.5". Still have to polish up the outside, clean it up a little bit, clean up some of the inside so you don't see the mandrel marks. Same thing for the 44mm or 1.5". Then we have the up pipe that's going to connect to the teardrop. There's a pie cut section here. It's all taped up so you can't see it, but we're going to trim it somewhere down here at the correct length to have this just stick out of the bonnet. Same thing for the other 2, and then we get on to making a trim plate for it. Alright, so I got everything all polished up. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack up these pie pieces and tack that to this pipe, and then test fit, and then eventually trim that pipe to match the length of this, so that we can see how everything fits. So I'm gonna mock up the full 3" up pipe from the turbo first, and then figure out the 2 wastegates. Alright, so we have the down pipe all tacked up, minus the teardrop tip. So we went with some pie cuts on this bottom section. The regular bend was, the centerline radius was too large, and it would push the pipe too far against the firewall. So only solution was to do a pie cut. So we're gonna go ahead and test this on the car, and then see where we need to trim this pipe, and see where the teardrop needs to be added. Alright, so we went ahead and added the up pipe. Yeah, so like I said before, the reason for the pie cuts with the regular 5" bend center radius of this pipe, it put this pipe all the way almost touching here. So using the pie cuts, we're able to pull that back in by quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out where we're going to cut this so we can fit the other section of the teardrop to it. The up pipe piece is now trimmed shorter, and I added the other pipe to the second wastegate that's sitting underneath the manifold. So here's how this sits now. still not final. Before I do any final welding, I want to trim the bonnet. But that's how the main 3-inch up pipe sits. And then here's the wastegate up pipe. This one sits here. And that's how these two sit. And then the third pipe is going to come up from that elbow you see there and sit right in this area. But before I get too far with this, I'm going to start trimming the bonnet just to make sure everything fits the way it should, and then I'll start tacking the rest of this up. Before we start trimming any of the bonnet, I'm going to go ahead and weld up this pie cut section. Stainless tends to pull, so it could slightly change the angle of the pipe or the tubing. So before I do any cutting, I'm going to go ahead and weld all of this up, and then I'll reposition the top. And this pie cut was just cut from the Vibrant straight that was left over from the 180 bend, and this teardrop was cut out of a 90-degree elbow. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this welded. I'm gonna use the TIG Aesthetics purge plugs and put it in the end of the tube and fill it with argon, because it's stainless, you want to prevent it from sugaring. And then I'm gonna weld it up with I'm gonna use a BBW cup by Michael Furick, big gas lens, so it should help keep the outside from getting oxidized as you weld. So I'm probably gonna set the camera up on a time lapse. It's gonna take a little while setting everything up and doing the actual welding.
Don't say nothing when I hit a curve. You sip my tea like it's herbal. Watch it come back full circle. Knew this life was eternal when I hopped over hurdles. I so universal, you see me with my shirt. Had to listen, man, listen. This thing right here wasn't given. I'm whipping this to precision. Before you talk, homie, listen. They love me for my ambition. Paper chase, palm itching. I brag different. The flow ignorant. Got them hooked, they kept fishing. You popped up.
So all of the pie cuts are welded. Not sure if it's focusing with the GoPro, but so now I'll go ahead and bolt this back on, put the teardrop back on it and see where it sits. Then I could start trimming the bonnet. So we use the TIG Aesthetics purge plugs by Brad. And you can see we got good penetration. Kind of need some more light, but you can see it's penetrated all the way through. Good gas coverage from the Furick cup. So we'll go ahead and get this installed so we could get on to finishing up the other two wastegate up pipes. All right, the up tube is reinstalled. So here's how it's sitting. This wastegate isn't in the final position either. I still have to weld that, so it might pull some. And after welding up this pie sections, it did pull backward a little bit, but it still looks pretty good. We still have a gap here, so if you have any vibration or anything, we should be good. They shouldn't ever touch each other. So with this one set, then we'll go ahead and start trimming the bonnet to fit the main pipe, and then it'll make it much easier to trim the other two Make sure everything gets routed in relation to the main up pipe. It's looking good so far. And the third one will sit right here. Teardrop shape is pretty much roughed out. We're gonna trim this support section here first and then put the bonnet back on the car, double check to make sure that everything still lines up, and then slowly start cutting away and going back and forth and test fitting.
Yeah, you see me with my circle, play the car, we puffin' purple. First time I got tipsy off the white like I was Virgil. Yeah, I grew up with my cousins on Herzl. Used to have a curfew writing verses in my journal. Now it's ISO universal. My niggas strapped like a girdle. Y'all moving slow like a turtle. Hey, our songs and commercials. We don't need no rehearsals. Wifey instinct maternal. I know our kid gon' be verbal. They know our love is eternal. We'll keep on hopping these hurdles. Thank you, God, I'ma serve you. We don't even deserve you. Keep us from the internals. Grinding late, I'm nocturnal. Spitting fire infernal. You touching and it's gon' burn you. Driving now murder with my niggas doing burnouts. They know that it's our turnout. Let's see how this gon' turn out. Our blessings been confirmed now. That other shit you hear about don't concern us. You see the sound don't disturb us. These other niggas is burgers, is ice, so we came to turn up. Heard you, don't say nothing when I hit a curve. You sip my tea like it's herbal. Watch it come back full circle. Knew this life was eternal when I hopped over hurdles. ISO universal, you see me with my circle.
So got the bonnet trimmed for the up pipe. So what I'm gonna do is, you kind of see the height. I'm gonna bring this a little bit lower so it sits not flush but just above. And then once I get the height of this one, I'll use this height to set the other wastegate pipe's height. There's still some more trimming on this side for the wastegates. We have a good amount of space here. I'm eventually gonna put a plate around it, but that's what we have for now. So I trimmed down the up pipe so it sits a little bit more flush with the bonnet. There's still some cutting out here for the wastegate up pipe, so that's cut kind of tight. We have a little space on this side. Like I said, there's a plate that's gonna go around the edge. So here's how it looks. So now that I pretty much have the height for this set, I'll go ahead and run the two wastegate pipes to match the height of the teardrop. That way everything's more or less even, and then I'll go ahead and trim the rest of the bonnet for these two. All three up pipes are positioned now. So we decided to make all of the teardrops point in the same direction. Looks pretty neat that way. So this still isn't tacked up yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull everything off and tack this pipe and then, or tube I should say, and then tack those up and do one final test fit. But yeah, we'll go ahead and pull these off, get it tacked up, do one final test fit, and then gather everything up and weld everything up.
All right, so here is the coupe after KEIM, after the Clean Culture car show. Yo, I post a lot on my Instagram more than I do YouTube. So if you want to stay up to date on what I got going on, follow my IG down below. So yeah, just want to give a big shout out to KEIM from KEIM Fab, you know, for taking care of the coupe, making the up pipes, intercooler tubing, and cutting the bonnet. Still have to get a custom plate made to go on the trim, go on the outside of the bonnet so it doesn't burn it up. But else from that, KEIM did a great job doing all of the tubing, all of the vibrant clamps, taking off the turbo, welding it, doing the up pipes. Let me crank it up and take it outside so you guys get a better look at it. So yeah, here she is outside. I got the wheels on. The only thing left for me to do is pretty much run the vacuums for the dual wastegates. And then get to them. Yeah, so I'll give you guys a more in-depth video of everything. You know, when the car is tuned and all that, I'll go into every part that's in the motor, all that stuff after I get it tuned. We're gonna give you guys a quick update on how the car is currently is right now. So far, so good. Yeah, man, everything looks good. I drove the car around for like an hour the other day. I just need to get it tuned. Like I said, it's running a little rich, but no problems. This guy has to get used to this twin disc, but that's it. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up for this video. Like I said, big shout out to KEIM, big shout out to Vibrant for getting me all of these parts, these clamps, tubings, all that stuff. Vibrant, I appreciate you guys. KEIM, I appreciate you, big dog. And yeah, that is an update on the Coupe. Next video will be dyno video. After that will be a breakdown of everything that's that's in the car. All right, but like I told y'all before, YouTube is not my full-time thing. You know what I mean? I just do it to do it. I don't have that much time because I'm on the road, but I'll try and feel me, throw something in there once in a while with the coupe. You know what I mean? But until next time, guys, stay blessed, live your life, and peace.